Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the blog this week. And I'm excited to introduce you to a new friend that I literally just met. This is Joseph Posner. Hi, Joseph.
Hello.
How are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here on the blog. And I have never met Joseph. He lives in London, so we're across the water from each other. But what a great opportunity through technology to connect and meet Joseph and let him share with you about his novel. And it's intriguing to me because it's quite different than any other novels that I've so far had the privilege to promote on this blog. So I'm excited to let him explain to you about his writing and his novel. So I'm just going to turn it over to you right now, Joseph, and let you introduce yourself and tell a little bit about you and your family.
Thank you, Dina, and thanks again for having me on the blog today.
Sure.
My name is Joseph, and I am from London. I've been to the States many times, and I've lived in California, so that's where my writing, my novel was inspired. Just for some background, but I'm a youth and young adult pastor here in North London. In my church, I've been involved in youth ministry for over a decade now since I came to faith, really. And in that time, I've studied theology academically, and I'm currently working towards my master's in biblical and theological studies. I'm married to a lovely Californian lady, and we recently welcomed our first child into the world. And aside from writing, I love sports. I love studying things just in general. And I really love the outdoors.
Well, congratulations on your new baby. How old is your child, boy or girl?
He's a boy named Cornelius, and he's now 4 months.
Aw, so sweet. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your writing and what maybe inspired you to write and how you incorporate your faith and hope in Christ into your writing.
I've always enjoyed using the English language, and I say that because the background of my writing isn't necessarily just novel writing. I'm also an avid poet, so I've always loved spoken word, poetry, uh, that kind of use of the English language. And that goes back to ever since I was a child in what you would call in the States elementary school, performing in poetry competitions, so on and so forth. And like most writers, also had, a strong love for reading. So that's my background. And this particular novel was crafted when I was inspired by America's national parks. So in my writing, my style, I like to be descriptive. I like to make things sound as beautiful as possible, and I try to immerse the reader in the environment that I'm describing. So those are my main goals and aims when writing. When it comes to Christ, at the moment, my writing is focused on the natural world. That's what my novel is about, and that's what my next couple of novels that I have planned are about. So I'm just trying to present the fact that Christ is Lord over nature, and that one day all nature will be redeemed through him.
Mm, that's beautiful. So share just a little bit about the current novel. You said national parks in the States were the inspiration. So tell us a little bit about the setting and location, and if you have visited there, anything like that about the setting.
Yes, so the novel doesn't mention all of the national parks in the States because obviously there are quite a lot. But all of the ones which it does mention, I have been to. So those include Glacier National Park in Montana, Yellowstone National Park, uh, the Grand Canyon, the Grand Tetons, and Sequoia, and importantly, Redwood National Park. So I visited those places, and I just was heavily inspired by them.
Yeah. So, what do you love most about the parks? I went to when my husband and I were moving. He was in the military for 20 years, and we were moving out to California. And we stopped at the Grand Canyon, but we were young and had a baby with us, and were just anxious to get, where we were going. And we just kind of stopped and looked, into the canyon and said, "Oh, that's really cool. Okay, let's go now." And we didn't really explore. So, what do you love most about the national parks that you've been to?
It would be cliche for me to say, I love the beauty, but that's obviously true. But on a deeper level, I just love the fact that, the phrase national parks are America's best idea. So I just love the fact that the idea has come about to protect part of the natural world. And I think that is an innate desire because God has given us a love for the world and a ministry to preserve creation and be responsible. And so I think this innate understanding of protecting nature in humanity is part of being created in the image of God.
Hmm. So, what about research for your novel? Do you do much research?
Yes, uh, parts of the novel are obviously from my own recollection and creatures that I've seen or sites that I've witnessed, like the Grand Tetons. Um, but aside from that, there are some characters and creatures that I include that I don't know that much about in terms of their characteristics and their behavior. So I mainly use the internet and some books as well to learn about them. And also, I try to, in my novel, I've included the scientific name for each species. So I had to look up all of those. And the point behind that is to try to educate people about them.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the title of your novel?
The title is A Woodland Tale, subtitle Concerning How National Parks Came to Be.
Okay, so give me a little bit of the storyline, like, and what age is this written for? What age group?
Young adults,
Okay, so like youth and 20s, college
yes,
age.
yes. But I have found readers um, of an older age as well. But that is the main age that the book is aimed towards.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the story and what I can expect when I open the book to read this story.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a work of fiction. There are some, how can I say it, quite unique characters in there. The story is about the origin of national parks. So, as I said, in my experience of national parks, I see it as part of being created in God's image to demonstrate, preservation for nature. So that's what the story is based on, and the fictional characters in the book are demonstrating that point. Uh, in terms of the plot, the one of the main characters is called the Huckleberry King. So he's a giant huckleberry, uh, berries that grow in Montana and some other places at high elevation. And the Huckleberry King has disputes with Hyperion, who is the world's tallest tree. In real life, he's the world's tallest tree in Redwood National Park. And so you have the trees and the berries, and they can't agree on the best way to govern nature. They have different goals and different ideas. And so the plot of the story charts the Huckleberry's adventures, uh, the Huckleberry King and his clan of Huckles, so there are smaller berries as well, down through the United States, through different national parks on their way to meet Hyperion. And then the climax is the resolution and how the national parks are formed.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. I'm wondering about even younger children, like uh, middle school, older elementary. Do you think they would enjoy the story as well?
Yes, I do, and this has been one of the struggles for me so far in my writing career. Is trying to fine tune exactly who I'm writing for. This is my debut novel, so right now I'm just trying to write what I want to write. Basically, I'm not thinking about um, pigeonholing myself too much. So the concepts would definitely appeal to those in the middle age, but the language, some of the language choices and the syntax, so on, is a bit more advanced.
Okay, gotcha. So, as writers, a lot of times when we're writing our stories, God has some lessons that He's teaching us along the way. Did God teach you anything new as you were writing the story?
Yes, he taught me about perseverance and the benefits of perseverance. I mentioned being an avid poet. There are I've tried to get my creative work out into the world to glorify God, but I've only ever gone so far with it. I'll write this poem and record it, and then just kind of forget about it, or I'll start this reflection and just forget about it. But my book, I really disciplined myself in order to get it written, and then it was completed and it was published. So I feel like that was a message from God.
Yeah, awesome. So, what are you hoping that the readers of your novel will take away from it?
The main hope is for the reader to recognize how important it is to be aware of nature and to preserve nature, and to be reminded that preservation of the natural world is part of our calling and lives as Christians. And this is particularly important for the Western Church. In my studies of theology, I've learned that other uh, locations of Christianity in other parts of the world does a better job of caring for the natural world than the Western Church does. And obviously, that's not for every individual, but
Right.
in general. So I hope that the reader can take that lesson.
Yeah. Well, that's a good lesson for us. We need to take care of the world God's given us with all the beauty that He's surrounded us with. So, you mentioned a little bit about some of the characters in the story. Which one of the characters was the easiest for you to write, and then which one presented the greatest challenge for you?
The easiest was Sherman the tree. So he is a character that appears later in the tale, and he's based off of General Sherman, the tree that is in Sequoia National Park. And he was the easiest because his characteristics and story are quite similar to my own. He overcomes certain self doubt and a lack of confidence to kind of progress. And so I identify with that, and it was easier to write. And also the fact that he appeared towards the end of the novel just meant that my creative juices were flowing. The whole story was in full flow, and I could just slot him right in.
Mm-hmm.
The most difficult character to write was the Huckleberry King, and the first reason is because he's quite a wacky character, a giant berry, but also but also is because he is the antithesis in the tale, even though he is one of the main characters and the plot is heavily built around him. But he is the antithesis because he is the main obstruction to progress between the different creatures that I mentioned. And it's his inner turmoil that leads to the disputes.
Okay. So, tell me one of your favorite quotes from the novel. Do you,
Yes, yeah,
yeah,
I have it
you're
on
gonna,
hand.
yeah, yeah, read it to us.
So this is from chapter 8, I believe, and it's a description of Yellowstone. So here I go. The sunsets. Sunsets here are like no others. The orange hue gently fades as the mystic blue night takes over. And at dawn, the hazy dust is peeled back by opaque light, and the glorious sun illuminates the entire array of the land's colors: green trees, clear waters, and fair brown plants. Elsewhere, high passes overlook deep waterfalls that tumble gently like autumnal leaves, and spectacular flora, flowers of pink, purple, green, and red, are dotted among creatures' abodes and commune in wondrous fields.
I have to say that that's beautiful, and I can see your love for poetry coming through in that description. Really very visual, beautiful picture there. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you.
How many manuscripts have you written? This is your debut novel, you said. So do you have other manuscripts that you've worked on that haven't been published or some you hope to get published?
No, this was my first manuscript, and it was accepted for publishing, which was a huge blessing. And
That's rare to have your first one published, right?
yeah, yeah, I just tried to take it as a sign from God to keep going and commit myself.
Yeah. So are you working on something to follow up with this story?
Yes, I'm working on the direct sequel to the story, which is called A Ranger's Tale, which takes place slightly after the events in this one. And so, slight teaser, but the end of A Woodland Tale sees the first park ranger come into existence, um, one of the characters in A Woodland Tale, and A Ranger's Tale follows that character. And then I also have before that sequel. So I'm hoping that that is also published by the same publisher. But before that, I'm planning to release a short story called The Squirrel's Letterbox, which is a spin off based on one of the other characters in A Woodland Tale.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds good. So you said you're a youth pastor. Have the youth in your youth department at church read your book?
I think they're all busy with schools and exams.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to get those closest to us to read our work. I don't know. I find that in my life. What do you enjoy most about being a writer?
Yes, I was just saying in terms of loving writing, just being able to write what you want to write about and expressing your creativity and having it as a tool to challenge people. So with my novel, I want to challenge people to be more aware and mindful of nature, and I'm able to do that through my writing.
Mm-hmm. So this current genre that you write in, would you classify it? I know it's YA. Is it like a, it's not really fantasy because it's based on reality, but it's a little bit different than like, people say I write historical or I write contemporary or romance or whatever. What kind of genre would you say this falls into?
Yeah, I have struggled with that myself. I'm being honest. Uh, the best category that I've found that it can fit into is literary fiction or speculative fiction. Kind of using existing concepts and putting a spin on it. But there are elements of fantasy in there as well.
Right. So if you didn't write this genre, what do you think you would write? What have you thought about maybe writing?
Uh, if I'm being honest, I think it would be possibly more non-fiction that I would be focused on as a result of my theological studies and the kind of things that I'm involved in. But I've always loved sci-fi, and I just think that the universe is so has an aura of mystique and is also a part of God's creation. But I haven't read enough sci-fi books to really immerse myself in that genre.
Yeah, my husband's a big sci-fi fan. He he doesn't read a whole lot, but he likes to watch sci-fi movies and TV shows.
Mhm.
So he would probably enjoy reading some sci-fi too. If you ever decide to do that, you let me know. I can recommend it to him. Well,
Yeah.
as we close out here today, is there anything you want to say to those who are watching? Any last words?
I believe if you love the outdoors and you love the Christian faith, even if you feel like you should engage yourself with nature and the outdoors more, my novel is a great read because it inspires, encourages, and as I said, hopefully immerses the reader um, in those locations. So
Mm-hmm.
the feedback that I've got from it, people have told me that it's made them want to visit those places.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I can't really ask for more in terms of what I'm hoping to do.
Well, I will say I think it's a unique story concept. I've not heard any other books like this that are out there. And so I think you've got that going for you, that it's very unique and out of the box, which I think a lot of people and publishers and professionals out there are looking for something a little different. So I wish you the best with that. And I know you've agreed to give away a copy to one of our watchers who comments on this post. So all the details of that will be in the post when it goes out. And this, of course, is being recorded ahead of time, but March 2nd, this will go out there live, and people will have that week following up from the interview to post their comments. So I'll be looking forward to that. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Joseph. Thanks so much for spending some time with me and talking about your book today.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
All right, blessings to you.
All right, God bless.